almost there. We're almost there. Calm down, everybody. Trump, at one of his speeches, he's like, they told me to stay calm, stay on message. You're almost there. Oh, it's been a wild ride. This is Beyond Reason Radio. Once again, I am your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. And I am joined by Mr. Rob, producing for me. Thanks for coming.
No better place to be than on Beyond Reason Radio on this weekend. The weekend before the big election. Glad to be here, Mike. Go for it.
I asked Rob I asked you last second if you could produce for me because I didn't have anyone, and you're like, I wouldn't miss it for the world.
I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Who can miss this time, this show?
I want to hear what everybody thinks is going to happen. I can't wait to hear the opinions of everybody.
Yeah, by the way, if you have a comment, you can call at 407-916-5400, or you can text to 23680, and I'm just putting on Facebook Live right now, if it lets me. We were having problems with the connection earlier, but it seems to be working now. So you can comment on Facebook Live, just like us on Facebook at Beyond Reason Radio. So I'm going to get into a little bit of, once again, I post these things on my Facebook page, which you can friend me on Facebook as well. Just search Michael Yaffee and friend me, and I'll accept a friend request. And I post something on Facebook. It was like, one sentence, quick little thing that I do sometimes, and I just throw it out there. And the reaction I get is always very entertaining. Always very entertaining.
It always is. You put out that just a little tease.
Yeah, just a little
I'll
bit.
let you tell them exactly what it was. But.
Yeah. So, but before I do that, I found some incredible audio this afternoon. President Obama was in North Carolina today, and he was at a rally. And there was like a protester. There was a Trump supporter there, not really doing much, but he was there. And he starts saying something. And the reaction from the crowd, the reaction from the Obama supporters, and frankly, the reaction of Obama might sum up this election better than anything that has so far. Rob, play that audio of Obama. This is how it goes.
Hey, hold up. It's okay. Hey!
He's yelling at his own supporters. He's not yelling at Trump people. He's yelling at his own supporters here.
Hold up. Hey, listen.
Yep. It's still going. I love it. What has happened to us?
Hey. Listen up. Hey, everybody. Hey.
It's still going on.
Hey.
Yep, this is Obama trying to get people's attention.
I told you to be focused, and you're not focused right now. Listen to what I'm saying. Hold up.
Yep, still going on. He's yelling at his supporters. Very upset. They're not listening to him. Listen to Obama. Rob's in there laughing.
Now listen up. I'm serious. Listen up. You've got an older gentleman who is supporting his candidate. He's not doing nothing. You don't have to worry about him. You should. This is what I mean about folks not being focused.
Focus, people, focus.
First of all,
Obama's speaking.
Hold up.
He's still doing it. It's still going on.
Hold up.
There's like 2 minutes of him doing this. Yes.
We live in a country that respects free speech.
Oh, they don't respect.
Second of all, it looks like maybe he might have served in our military, and we got to respect that. Third of all, he was elderly, and we got to respect our elders. And fourth of all, don't boo. Oh! Don't boo. Oh! Come on. Now, I want you to pay attention.
Yes. Focus, people. Focus.
Because
Stop yelling.
If we lose focus,
Obama's speaking.
We could have problems.
It's just, is that like the most incredible piece of audio you've ever heard?
He never got control of that crowd.
No.
They were out of control.
They were totally out of control. And, that's where we are right now in this country. On both sides, it seems like. Everyone's worried about it. What if Trump doesn't accept the results? Or what if Trump's supporters don't accept the results? I'm not sure if Trump wins that Hillary supporters are going to accept the results, especially when you hear stuff like that. It's just weird. I look at that and I'm like, man, where are we as a country? It is an amazing time, a beyond reason time, to be exact, to be in America today, to look at politics today, because it's incredible, the reaction of both people. And people say it's because there's a lot at stake. There's so much at stake. I'm not one of those people who necessarily believes that. 407-916-5400, text to 23680. There is a lot at stake, but I found an article, which I'm going to get to later, from the Federalist. And the headline just spoke to me. And it said why this might be the least important election of our lifetimes. Not the most important, which everyone's saying. Might be the least important election of our lifetimes. I have been saying that I think the next election, either the next, depending on who runs in 4 years, if Hillary or Trump runs in 4 years, that won't be it. It's either going to be the next election or the election after that. That will be the most important election of our lifetimes, because that'll be the election where it's going to be a constitutionalist, a true constitutionalist versus a true socialist. And then we will really have to make a decision as a country. So that's what I believe. 407-916-5400. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your voice of reason. So let's get to the Facebook post that I posted and read some of the comments, because it's always fun. You can friend me on Facebook. Just search Michael Yaffee, or you can like Beyond Reason Radio on Facebook as well. This is all I said. This is all I said. And I think I might have made everyone mad at the same time. I think I made Trump supporters mad, and I made anti-Trump people mad at the same time. That is how good I am at this.
That's genius.
It really is. I don't want to take too much credit for myself, but this, I pat myself on the back. All I said was this: why haven't I early voted? Question mark. Because I'm voting for Trump, and I'm not excited about it or looking forward to it.
Simple.
And it's the truth.
It is.
I'm kind of looking at it like going to the dentist.
I was just thinking that.
Yes. You don't want to go to the dentist. It's not something you're excited about or looking forward to, but you got to do it.
It's in the best interest of
you got to do it. You got to. So that's kind of where I am with Trump. And the reactions I get, by the way, I'm going to say in a second, I've been kind of back and forth on Trump. I was one of the first who was very critical of a lot of what Trump said, because he's not a conservative. So people might be wondering why I decided to vote for Trump. So I'm going to get to that. But let's read some of the reactions I got on my little Facebook post of why I didn't early vote. One person said, I'm right there with you, Yaffmeister. Nice little nickname, I guess. It was a hard decision to make. Another person said, get it over with so it's not a burden. Forget about Trump. Just say, take this evil Hillary. No way you're getting into the White House. That's usually, I hear a lot of that.
Of course, anti-Hillary.
Yes, exactly. One person said, don't blame you on that. I've already voted yes to all the amendments. Oh, this person did exactly the opposite of everything I want to vote for. She's not listening to me. Big Democrat. But she supported Bernie Sanders and isn't looking forward to voting for Hillary, or wasn't looking forward to it. One person says, you don't have to vote for him, right? You've still got time to save your soul from external damnation and fire. So I think that person's not for Trump.
I think I like that one, as a matter of fact. And I know exactly what you're talking about. That's a great comment.
Yeah. One person just said, vote Trump. So there you go. Yeah. One person said, just don't forget to go to the polls on November 28th. One said, stop, put on your big boy pants, and go vote for Donald Trump right now.
Ugh.
I'm going to, but someone said, I'm excited about someone in the government that will not be a long-time politician, but I never early vote because I think we are wasting a lot of money doing that. So there you go. One of my friends posted this picture. It's a I voted sticker, but under it says, and may God have mercy on my soul.
Oh, that's a little much.
No matter, and it works no matter who you're voting for.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
In that regard. Somebody just posted on Facebook Genius at my Facebook post because I was able to upset Trump supporters and anti-Trump people. By the way, you can watch us on Facebook Live. Just search Michael Yaffee. One person said, Mike, you can't judge Trump by the same standards that we would judge our friends or family. We shouldn't judge at all. Only respond to what someone has done and behaved over the years, and Hillary is as evil as they get. Oh, if I'm judging on what Trump's done over the years, though. See, this is the problem. This is the issue. One person says, you're voting Trump? What happened to McMullen?
McMullen?
Evan McMullen. I never said I was voting for him.
I don't even know who that is.
You don't know who Evan McMullen is?
No,
the independent Republican guy from he might win Utah.
Oh, he might win Utah, that guy. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. One person said it would be totally okay to vote Hillary. Give me a little wink. No, it would not. And not the egotistical, racist, sexist pig.
Oh.
Just saying.
Ouch.
Or like your friend said, vote on the 28th. So I'm guessing that person doesn't like Trump.
I was thinking that.
There's a wide range of views on my Facebook, apparently, when I post stuff like this. I have so much fun going through some of this stuff. Let me see. Let me scroll down here a little bit. There was someone. Oh, yeah, this person is really mad at me because I'm not, a big pro-Trump guy.
Right.
Said, please don't vote. Stay home. We don't need you.
So Trump supporters saying that they don't need your vote
for Trump.
Okay, please.
Yes,
he needs your vote.
Yes, you do. Trust me. The way the electoral map looks, even though it's tightening, you need my vote.
Mm-hmm.
You need every vote you can get. It's not the best way to win elections by telling people not to vote for your candidate. I'm just saying. Let's see. I felt the same until I overcame the feeling by repeating, I'm voting to save America. So there we go. Some people are saying a lot of it's anti-Hillary stuff. So
that's the easy way out. I mean, of course, you can always say anti-Hillary stuff.
Yeah, and it's the other way. It's the other party's doing the same thing.
That's true.
I mean, most of those people aren't voting because they love Hillary.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yay, Hillary! Have you ever heard anyone in your life say "Yay, Hillary"?
And you don't see a lot of signs in the neighborhoods, and not a lot of bumper stickers.
I don't see them for either side.
I see a few Trumps in our
neighborhood. I mean, I've seen some Hillary.
Yeah.
I've seen a little bit more Trump.
Right.
But I live, in Seminole County, which tends to be more Republican anyway. But nothing compared to what I've seen in the past.
Oh, in the past, right.
But with both candidates.
Yep.
It's actually quite amazing when you think about it. 407-916. So, let me repeat it, and then you can text or you can call me and complain about what I said if you want. I'm getting used to this. A lot of people complaining about what I said. Why haven't I early voted? Because I'm voting for Trump, and I'm not excited about it or looking for it.
You know what's beyond reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio. You want to listen to Beyond Reason Radio live on your smartphone? Download the Beyond Reason Radio app now. Available in the Google Play or Apple app stores.
By the way, have you followed me on Twitter? You got to follow me on Twitter because I post a lot of this stuff. I post on Facebook, on Twitter as well, at Beyond Reason R. Follow me on Twitter at Beyond Reason and the letter R. So this is Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. This is Beyond Reason Radio, where we talk faith, culture, and politics every Friday here, 7 to 9 p.m. on WFLA and, of course, the Beyond Reason Radio app. So I just got a comment on Facebook Live. It's kind of off topic, but the reason I'm bringing it up. Doctor Strange, the movie, was amazing, he says. Now, he's bringing that up because I did a little movie review on Facebook because I saw a pre-screening of the movie earlier this week and just wanted to let everyone know I'm going to end this hour with a movie review for Doctor Strange. So you have to, the whole show. I have so much. Seriously, I could do like 5 hours today. There's so much to talk about. So, but I'm going to end this hour with the movie review of Doctor Strange. So you'll definitely want to stay tuned for that. Before I tell you, I'm going to lay out exactly why I'm voting for Donald Trump. But before I get to that, I have a call here. Ed in Titusville. Ed, how are you?
Hey, Mr. Yaffee, I'm doing just fine. I was just going to the store and I heard your show. I enjoy you and Bud in the morning.
Oh,
and
thank you.
You know, I'm just very excited about answering this question because in this life as Christians, there are a lot of things that we have to do that we don't necessarily like to do.
Yep.
I'm thinking as a father, sometimes I have to discipline my kids, even if it might mean spanking them. And I don't like to do that, but I have to do it.
Yeah.
And I was in the military, Yaffee, and I served on B-52s back in the days of the Cold War. And there was always the possibility that I might have to go to war and drop weapons that could cause mass destruction.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have liked to have done that, but I would have had to have done that as my duty as an Air Force officer. And so voting this year has been very difficult. I'm with you. I had to look very, very carefully at Mr. Trump and very, very carefully at Mrs. Clinton, and I had to look at the facts of what they stand for, both as a Christian and as an American. And I have to vote, Yaffee. That's our responsibility as citizens.
Yeah, it seems kind of like you're where I'm at.
It's a struggle, but we have to vote, even if sometimes we have to swallow some things we don't like. Ultimately, the future of our country, I believe, depends on this election.
Yeah, you're kind of where I am at. Ed, thank you for your service. Thank you for your call. By the way, I'm on every Friday, so
Ed, thank you for your service. Thank you for your call. By the way.
Okay, I think you started listening on the radio. All right. So, speaking of that, I'm laying out right now why I'm voting for Trump and what made me really come to this decision. And it was not an easy decision. And I've heard every argument, third party, whatever. I even played on this show a few weeks ago a real conservative that said we should not only not vote Trump, but we should vote Hillary. Because the only way to get rid of Trumpism is for Trump to lose big time. Because Trump's not a conservative. If we want to save the conservative movement in the big picture, we have to get rid of Trump. I completely understand that. There's a lot of never Trumpers that I like. I like Jonah Goldberg. I like Ben Shapiro. I like Glenn Beck. So I respect them a lot. But the thing that started me down this road is, one, I told myself I was going to vote. I have to vote. And then I told myself I have to vote for someone. I have to vote for someone who's running. So I decided I have to vote for the best person who's running. I don't want to vote in writing someone for someone who's not running. All right? Who's running? You have Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, Gary Johnson, Jill Stein. Those are the big ones. You have Evan McMillan out there. I've looked at all of them. I went to the Libertarian Convention where Gary Johnson was nominated. I can't vote for Gary Johnson. The guy is not a libertarian. He's big on open borders. He's big on cap and trade. He's kind of nuts. So I couldn't vote for Gary Johnson. I can't vote for Hillary Clinton for the obvious reasons. No, even outside of all the corruption, which we'll get into later in the show. She's a big government leftist who used to push single-payer health care and will do that if she wins again. There's no way I can vote for that. With all my problems with Donald Trump, and this is basically what Ted Cruz said, at least with Trump, we have the possibility of some of the things we want to happen. Donald Trump's biggest asset, in my opinion, is Mike Pence. I think Mike Pence has an influence on Trump's decision. I like Mike Pence a lot. In a lot of ways, I'm kind of pretending I'm voting for Mike Pence, if that makes sense. I also know Trump has surrounded himself with people I like. I have interviewed economist Stephen Moore on this show, on the morning show, and Florida Roundtable as well, and I read his book about energy. I think at least Donald Trump will be open to the possibility of opening up federal lands for energy exploration, which would be the biggest boom to our economy in years. It needs to be done. We have to get over this, can't do any fossil fuels. We have to expand our economy. That is one of the best ways to do it. Also, Trump's tax policies are a lot better than Hillary's. They're not perfect, but they're not bad as well. Also, I supported Trump on immigration. I do think we need to secure the border. I do think we need to bring less people, less low-skilled workers into this country. I'm not anti-immigration by any means, but it's gotten too much. You have to, like Trump says, you have to have a country. So there's some points right there. I do think Trump is much more pro-Second Amendment, and Trump would be a better chance of getting a good Supreme Court nominee. Now, the problem with all of this is it's hard to trust him to actually do these things. He doesn't have a political record, so you can't base it off that. You can only base it off his words in the past, which have been all over the place. His business practices in the past have been all over the place. Some of his policies that he's putting forth right now are awful. Paid maternity leave by the government, terrible policy. $1 trillion stimulus infrastructure spending, even though he's paying for it through tax credits and all this stuff. It's still terrible. And there's some other things that shows he wants to expand Medicaid, he has said. So, by the way, one of his pluses is he has a good plan for the VA. It's a big important. Hillary does not have a good plan for the VA. So when I look at all of that, I look at the negatives with Trump, and there are negatives. There are no doubt. That is why I'm not excited about it. That is why I did not support him in the primary. That is why even if Trump wins, I will be critical of him every time he does something that I strongly disagree with. But I made a decision that I'm going to vote for the best person who is running. Trump, unfortunately, in my opinion, is the best person who is running. I cannot support someone who wants to raise $1 trillion in new taxes, who wants to spend trillions of dollars on expanding entitlements for healthcare and other things, who is as corrupt as it gets, and who could destroy the Supreme Court, and who's going to go down that slippery slope of hurting the Second Amendment. I understand all the arguments of, well, the big picture. There was a part of me that wanted to go down the road of not voting for Trump because Trump needs to lose big to save the conservative movement. Here's the problem. I have to look at what's happening today in real world. And Trump's not, right now, Trump has a chance. If I thought Trump had no chance of winning, that would be different. Trump has a chance of winning. That is the real world. The real world is this is who we have to pick from. That is just the real world. I have to think about what we are faced with now. I say I'm the voice of reason, so I have to be a voice of reason. I could very well regret it if Trump ends up being a disaster. That's why I'm not excited about it. It's not a full-throated endorsement and all of this stuff. That's why there's going to be a lot of me criticizing him if he wins. But that's where I am. That's why I'm voting for Trump. Reluctantly. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. We will be right back.
Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime. If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. Now, back to Beyond Reason Radio.
Yes, we are back on Beyond Reason Radio. And yes, if you miss any of the show is 2 hours long, and I know some of you are in and out. Go get the podcast, because I'm covering a lot of ground on today's show. And by the way, there's some non-presidential political stuff that I'm going to get to, including my movie review of Doctor Strange at the end of this hour. And, of course, I will end the show in the next hour with stories so beyond reason they will leave you flabbergasted. I'm getting some calls in. You can always call at 407-916-5400, 916-5400. And by the way, you can text to 23680. Somebody said, don't worry, Yaffee. I'm sure in 2024, Jeb Bush will run again with Paul Ryan as his running mate. And for the first time in 8 years, you can once again be proud to be a Republican. Not a huge fan of Jeb. I think, and I've said this before on this show, I think the debate this country should be having is between Rand Paul and Bernie Sanders. That is the debate that we should be having, because that is where the division really is in this country. We're playing games pretending like it's not. And by the way, I think Rand Paul would destroy Bernie Sanders in a debate. I'm just saying. Here we go. Let's take some calls here. Steve in Winter Park. You were on Beyond Reason Radio with me, Michael Yaffee. How is it going tonight?
Hello.
Hey, Steve.
Hey, the only thing, I agree with your reasoning as far as why you're voting for Trump.
Yes.
But you left off Obamacare, which is...
That's true. You're a good point. Go ahead.
Almost everybody is affected about Obamacare.
Yes.
When Obamacare went into effect, my deductible was $3,000. No, I'm sorry, $2,500. Now it's $7,000. I practically would have to be dead before anything kicks in to cover anything. So,
you are exactly right. It's shocked me that Trump did not run on Obamacare sooner. Here's my issue with Trump on health care. He came out during one of the debates and said single payer could have worked and it works in Canada. So it's still, even though he has a plan that's okay, it's still hard for me to trust Trump on health care. But you're right. That's a big issue, and you can't have Hillary in there when it comes to health care.
Well, let me just say this. I don't believe that Trump has even figured out how to dismantle it and how to replace it with something, because I
don't think it's a big issue to him.
He throws out things like, the savings account, and he throws out that it's mobility to go from state to state.
And those are things that have been around for a while in Republican circles.
But it's not complete.
Yeah, I know.
So, but it's still, if he can dismantle it. My wife is a Trump supporter because she doesn't have insurance. I can't cover her on my insurance. Jeez. And she's just tired of paying those penalties, and we both feel that that's un-American to force somebody to buy some product, forcing a person to buy insurance. So
yeah, I know.
That's my 2 cents.
I'm with you on Obamacare. It's a big problem that Trump should have been running on it he should have been blasting him much sooner than he was. By the way, I got a comment from Octavio on Facebook, said, but you're a fan of Trump? ? You haven't been listening to the whole show then. Listen to the first half hour of the show and you will get all of it. Obviously, I'm not a big fan of Trump. So go listen to the rest of the show, please. David in Palm Bay, you're on Beyond Reason with Michael Yaffee. How are you?
Hi, sir. I'm a retired CPA, and
okay.
Let me just explain something to the people out there.
All right.
One is Goldberg, that buffoon that doesn't know what he's talking about. Donald Trump is so much more of a conservative than Ronald Reagan. It's not even close. Let's look at the facts, people. Ronald Reagan raised taxes. The deficit went to the moon. Ronald Reagan was down on the border with his pom-poms. Come on in. Come on in.
Well, Reagan lowered the tax rates quite significantly. He raised payroll taxes a little bit.
Deductions. He took away all the. You know what effective tax rate means?
Yes, he didn't take away all the deductions, but the tax rates were quite a bit lower.
Well, no, I understand that. I give him massive credit for that. He inherited an absolute disaster.
Okay.
Where's this idea that Donald Trump is not a conservative?
Well, anyone who promotes the idea of single payer or wants a good entitlement for paid maternity leave or wants to expand Medicaid, it's hard for me to say, wants $1 trillion stimulus package. It's hard for me to say he's conservative.
So in other words, if you would have 5% growth over his plans, which a lot of people think it will happen, right now, I'll give you an example of what's going on at Newt Gingrich and all these people that don't have a clue what they're doing. you have two people that are making $20,000.
Newt's a huge supporter of Trump, but go ahead.
Well, no, I understand it, but I'm trying to give you an example of what's going on. Romney lost the election because when he said that 46% people don't pay taxes,
right,
should have said not only do they not pay taxes, they get handouts.
That's true. Trump has no plan to get rid of any of that.
Earned income credit is better than a Roth IRA.
Okay, I gotcha.
There are people out there right now, a husband and wife, they aren't married. They have 2 kids each. They're getting like $7,500 a year after their FICA taxes.
You're exactly right, but Trump has no plan to get rid of any of that.
They walk out of my office. I swear to God, they walk out of my office and they say, "This is unbelievable."
Okay, David, I completely agree with you, but let's focus. You called and said...
Go get him, Ronnie. Go get him, Ronnie Reagan. There's no chance in a million years anybody can convince me that he was more conservative than Donald Trump. It's not even in the same stratosphere. How much did Ronald Reagan cost us with millions of illegals coming into this country, Ronnie? How much did that cost?
So, okay, I had to hang up. So because of the illegal immigration thing, which he admitted was a mistake, and it was put in with border security, Reagan wasn't a conservative. This is where we are. Reagan did spend more, but he spent more on military spending. That was where most of that new spending came from, to beat the Soviet Union. He proposed balanced budget amendments. You read his autobiography, it said that is one thing we need. He had a full Democrat Congress, but he lowered tax rates significantly. He lowered regulations significantly, including in the FCC, got rid of the fairness doctrine, which is why I can do this show, which is why people can praise Trump on the radio.
And denigrate Ronald Reagan's memory.
Yeah.
Jeez, Steve, take a chill pill with that. I mean, our greatest president, Ronnie, please. He's our greatest president we've ever had.
And I explained to him, and he complained about all these things that's happening in government. Trump has no plan to get rid of any of those things he complained about. Not a single one. So I told you I'm voting for Trump, and he made it about Trump's more conservative than Reagan. None of the conservative things that are happening right now would be happening if it weren't for Reagan. And by the way, Trump loves Reagan. 407-916-5400. Text to 23680. Okay. I have more people commenting on Reagan. I don't want to get into a Reagan. I don't want to get into a Reagan-Trump debate.
No.
Just
every politician wants to be compared to Reagan. They don't want to say, "Oh, I'm un-Reagan-like." Have you ever heard a politician say that? No, of course not. Even Hillary Clinton ought to be compared to Reagan.
I know.
It's
just ridiculous. So I'm looking at the electoral map here. And even though it's tightened a lot, Trump's got a long way to go. Let's not get too comfortable. Even Trump's out there saying, hey, calm down, go out and vote. Because right now, as of today, if you include all of the states that are leaning Democrat or strong Democrat, Clinton has 268 electoral votes. That's 2 away from winning, which is a lot less than it was before, but still strong. Trump, when you include all the states, Republican or leaning Republican, Trump has 204 electoral votes. That means there's 66 battleground states. Trump has to win every single battleground state to win. That includes Nevada, Arizona, Florida, North Carolina, New Hampshire, and the second district in Nebraska, and he's got to win all of them. So if he loses one of those, he's done. And if he wins all of those, he just makes it to 270. By the way, he has to win all those that are just leaning Republican. And some of those are close when you think about it. Florida is a toss-up. North Carolina is a toss-up. But, the ones that are leaning Republican, Georgia, that's usually strong Republican. That's just leaning. Ohio, he's got to win that. It's leaning Republican, but it's close. Iowa's the same way. But Hillary has some trouble because states that are usually strong Democratic, like Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Trump has a slight chance of winning. So this is pretty close. But it's going to be tough. The battleground states is where I'm worried. Because all Trump has to do is lose one of them. And that's extremely possible. Now, he's hoping that he can switch a Democrat state so he doesn't need to win all the battlegrounds. It's going to be it's going to be an interesting night. Let's just put it that way. Eric in Edgewater, how are you doing tonight, my friend?
Mr. Yaffee, how are you?
Pretty good.
Just want to say I loved your Brad Nesker show. I bought my son that book, I Am George Washington. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, the Florida Roundtable. Yeah, great show.
I took a poll 2 days ago, an ABC poll, not a Fox News, ABC.
Okay.
I took a poll. Hillary came in fourth. I took a screenshot because I couldn't believe it. I called my buddy to tell him, and he went to go vote, and he said, hey, it's down. So I went and looked and said, this website's been removed. So I guess they didn't like it. I took
maybe
a
not.
Of that. So, and that was the first one was 107,000 voters. So I went to go talk to my brother and show him that it was taken down, and it was back up with 53,000 votes, and she moved up to third. Donald Trump's going to eat this woman's lunch.
Really? So you think it's going to be a landslide?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see...
You're a lot more confident than I am. But go ahead.
They say lawn signs don't vote, but how many... I mean, I live by Daytona Beach. You think there's a lot of poverty here. I've seen one Hillary bumper sticker and maybe one Hillary lawn sign. It's Donald Trump territory. Florida is no way a swing state. Trump's going to kill her in Florida.
Well, he's got to win it. So, hopefully you're right. But not only that, thanks, Eric, for your call. Not only that, he's got to win North Carolina and New Hampshire, which is tough. I just go out and vote. Like Trump says, you got to go out and vote if you want Trump to win, because it's close. It's close. By the way, I mean, there was a poll that came out, and now some people are saying it's refuting whatever, but there was a poll that came out that said of early voters, 28% of Republican early voters in Florida voted for Hillary. If that's true, that's not good. So this election, man, this election, because he's right. People are not excited about Hillary. And the biggest problem Hillary has right now is blacks are not voting in huge numbers. And young people are not going to vote for her as much as they did for Obama. I mean, Obama was in Orlando at UCF, and they were excited about Obama, not Hillary. So we'll get to that. Oh, I'm ending this hour with a movie review because I saw Doctor Strange. And by the way, I've talked, there's some themes in Doctor Strange, in that movie, that tell us exactly where we are in the pendulum swing. I talked about the book Pendulum, and I talked about how we are a part of a we or an us generation. This movie confirmed that for me in a lot of ways. So I'll get to that as well. You can call and text. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com. Download the iHeartRadio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast.
Yes, download the iHeartRadio app. Catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast there. It's available pretty much anywhere that podcasts are available. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your voice of reason, Michael Yaffee. We talk faith, culture, and politics here on Beyond Reason Radio. And, of course, it's dominated mostly by presidential politics because, there's this thing coming up next week. I think it's on Tuesday. You're supposed to go out and fill in a hole and put it next to a candidate. Yes, it's Election Day coming Tuesday, and then it will be over. Finally, it will be here. And then it probably won't end after that because if Hillary wins, she could be indicted. There'll be impeachment hearings even before she's inaugurated. You think it's going to end with all the corruption? I have a text here, by the way. It says, Jeff and I are amazed that someone that has 5 criminal investigations on them can even run for president. If Trump has 5 criminal investigations on him, the media would be demanding that he step down. That's true. 5 criminal investigations on her. you might be really voting for Tim Kaine if you're voting for Hillary. I'm just pointing that out there. So I am going to do the Beyond Reason movie review.
Doctor Strange, you think you know how the world works? What if I told you the reality you know is one of many?
This doesn't make any sense.
Not everything does. Not everything has to.
So, on Tuesday night, I saw a pre-screening of the Marvel movie Doctor Strange. Now, I actually did a movie review on Facebook Live right after the movie, but I figure I'd do it here as well because I'm a big movie guy. I love movies. And just a quick synopsis of what the movie's about. He is a neurosurgeon, a brain surgeon, gets into an accident, can no longer use his hands, so he tries to find a way to heal his hands, and he runs into this group that's into the mystical arts, and then he gets involved in it and becomes very good at it. They use the mystical magic, basically, to fight evil forces out there. And I got to tell you, it's probably the best movie I've seen all year. Really that good. Really that good. I would go see it. I had to see it in 3D. I am just not a fan of 3D movies. There's just something about it. Maybe my eyes don't work right, but I don't like 3D movies. The biggest problem with 3D movies is it's supposed to make it look more realistic. To me, it makes it look less realistic because you got these weird things popping out of a screen, and I don't know. I just don't like it. But it was one of the better 3D movies that I have seen. I'll give it that. But the movie itself was really good. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Doctor Strange. He was really good. Maybe the only movie better this year than this movie. I have not seen Hacksaw Ridge. I hear that's amazing.
That was good.
So I need to see that.
Yep.
That might be better, but I haven't seen it. Is another Marvel movie, Captain America Civil War. That might be a little bit better than this one. But this one was more fun. That's why I liked it, because it had a lot of action. It might have had the best special effects I've ever seen in a movie. And I'm not kidding. It has a lot of similar stuff to Inception kind of special effects, but it was amazing. There's no part of the movie, except maybe one part. There's most of the movie, when you watch it, you don't notice it's CGI. That's a huge plus.
That is. That's hard
for
to
a
do.
movie. And they did it. But Benedict Cumberbatch, the reason why he was so good in this movie is he's funny. There's a lot of humor in this movie, and I watched some reviews where they thought maybe the humor was a little too much, like some of it didn't really land where it should. I loved it. There was no part of the movie where I was like, oh, there shouldn't be a humor moment. I thought it was great. I thought the whole thing was incredibly entertaining. I thought the story was really good. And by the way, I talked about before on this show how we are in a we generation, an us generation. If you read the book Pendulum, you know what that means. We're in an upswing of a we. In an us generation, that means we focus more on the community, more on the group, more than ourselves. We're not selfish. It means we look more down to earth, realistic grittiness. And there was a lot of themes in this movie that confirmed that. There's parts of the movie where they say, get rid of your ego. That's a big we, us generation thing. There's parts of the movie where it says, she literally says, it's not about you. That's a big we, us generation thing. So the special effects were amazing. The acting was really good. Benedict Cumberbatch was good. Rachel McAdams was good. Everyone was really good. The beginning kind of moved a little bit fast, or the pacing wasn't exactly the way I wanted it, because, you think he got so far in his training so fast, maybe slowed it down a little bit. But the story was really good. The acting was good. The humor was good. The action was good. The cinematography was good. It's one of those good movies that it's just really entertaining and fun to watch.
Yeah, I'm surprised you say it's not a comedy, but some humorous moments in it.
Yeah,
that makes me think it's kind of like Deadpool, which I thought was a pretty fun movie.
It's not quite to the extreme of Deadpool with their humor, this very vulgar humor.
Right.
My biggest problem with a lot of people like Deadpool. My biggest problem with Deadpool is it seemed like they almost tried too hard to be vulgar.
Oh yeah.
And this doesn't have that. I felt the humor was just the right amount, and it was good. And Benedict Cumberbatch is really funny, and you don't realize it. And it made this movie even better than it would if it was all serious. I don't think the movie would have been nearly as good.
Right, they had to throw some humor in there.
It just fits the character and it fits the theme because it's still supposed to be a fun movie. It's supposed to be an action movie. It's supposed to be superhero movie, and that was the biggest problem with maybe Man of Steel and the Batman vs Superman movies.
Too dark, right?
You can do dark, but it has to be done right.
Yeah.
And it just didn't.
That movie flopped, didn't it?
Yeah, it just didn't. It just didn't work. But this movie,
it sounds like you're giving it a thumbs up.
I give it 4.5 out of 5 Yaffies.
Oh, the Yaffee
4.5 out of 5. Yeah. Now it is extremely difficult for me. I barely ever give a movie 5 out of 5 Yaffies. Sure. I mean, barely. The Dark Knight is an example of a 5 out of 5 Yaffies. This is right there, and that's saying a lot. And I was not as critical of this movie as some other reviewers I saw out there.
What exactly is a Yaffee? No, I'm just kidding. We don't have time for all that.
All right. We have one more hour to go of Beyond Reason Radio. I have some amazing audio from Breaking Bad star, Godzilla star, Bryan Cranston on Donald Trump. So we're going to go over that. And some non-presidential politics stuff that just I have to rant about. And we'll take your calls and text as well. 479-16-5400. Text to 23680. This is Beyond Reason Radio here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA and BeyondReasonRadio.com.
I look inside of myself.
Why am I saying it like that? It's kind of like a sigh. Oh, man. Because we're almost there. The election is almost there. Oh, we're so close. We're so close. Of course, after the election, we're going to have even more problems because Trump people might not accept the results. Hillary might be indicted. If Trump wins, Hillary supporters will go nuts. There's still investigations on Trump. The Never Trumpers, I don't know what they're going to do. It's going to be beyond reason. And you know who will be there through it all? The voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason, and that is me, Michael Yaffee. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee, here on News Radio 102.5 WFLA and BeyondReasonRadio.com. The best way to get the show, the best way to get the podcast, if you missed the show, is to download the Beyond Reason Radio app. So we've had a lot of different things we've talked about. Of course, I ended with a movie review, and I have some people already telling me they loved it, and some people telling me, stick to the issues, Mike. Stick to you're losing my focus. So there you go. I just love movies. I have to do it. So, political talk we have to get into. Presidential talk we have to get into. I explained in the first hour how I'm begrudgingly voting for Trump, why I haven't early voted because I'm not looking forward to it. By the way, I'm joined by producing Rob. Rob is producing for me. I almost forgot to introduce him.
Glad to be here. And it's not, as Ed said in the first hour, it's not, well, we all have to do things we don't want to do. Some of us have to go to war. Some of us have to vote for Trump. Go to war, vote for Trump, same thing, Like, come on.
I don't think that's the same.
He was trying to compare.
I knew what he was saying. No, I compared it to going to the dentist. That,
Ed says going to war.
No one wants to go to the dentist, but you gotta go to the dentist. I gotta vote for Trump. And I explained all that in the first hour, so catch the podcast if you missed that as well. By the way, Rob, you said you had some plans, but you canceled your plans because you would not miss
Yes, exactly.
This episode of Beyond Reason.
If you get the call to come in and produce Beyond Reason, you better be on it, especially the Friday before the biggest election of our lives. I mean, my goodness. If you're not excited about
craziest,
this.
By the way, there's an article I'm going to get to later in this hour that says it's the least, not the most, the least important election of our lifetimes. So all this craziness could have been for not much at all. So there you go. But I found some audio. Actually, I think I saw it on Facebook. It was from the BBC, actually. And it's of Bryan Cranston. Now, if you don't know who he is, he's the actor from Breaking Bad, the main character on Breaking Bad, the show. One of the best shows of all time, according to a lot of people. I didn't really get into it, but he was on Godzilla, the latest Godzilla movie. He was on The Infiltrator, which was pretty good. I rented that. It was pretty good. And he was the dad in Malcolm in the Middle, of course. You know,
and just a great portrayal of LBJ, of Lyndon B. Johnson. Bryan Cranston's a great actor.
Who did he play LBJ in?
He played. I think it's called Johnson or LBJ.
Really?
And he looks like him. They got the makeup down. It's amazing.
Why have I not seen this?
You got to look into that one.
I really need to. I'm very upset I'm not. Okay, but anyway, he was asked about Trump. And he was asked if he would ever play Trump. And there's some things I want to address in his comments. I actually agree. A lot of Trump supporters are going to be mad at me for this, but I actually agree with a lot of what he said here. But I want to address some things as well and criticize him for some things he said. This is what he said when he was asked if he would ever play Trump.
I'm fascinated by Trump because he is a classic, tragic Shakespearean character. You know, what's so amazing about Donald Trump is that he's unabashedly a demagogue. He talks about issues and problems, and if you listen to that, you would think that everything is horrible. Everything is just horrible. He also doesn't present any solutions. I'm just going to make it great. It'll be great again. I can guarantee it. Great again. We're going to work great deals. It's going to be fantastic. Everything's going to be huge. It's going to be great. Great, great, great. Huge. Problem, problem, problem. Great, great, great. And you go, he's saying nothing. He has no ideas. He's in a remarkable. That's why he's so Shakespearean, because he's just unlike anyone we've ever seen in that realm.
I disagree with that part.
Win?
It's not real to me that he could win. It would be just the most bizarre thing imaginable. I don't think he's going to win, and I hope that when he loses, he would do everyone a huge favor if he just went away. If he just
that's not going to happen. If he loses, Trump TV is going to be on. He's going to be everywhere. Oh man, he's going to create an empire out of this. But I want to address some things he said there, and you can call as well 479-16-5400. Text to 23680 and give your comments on it as well. I agree with certain parts of that. Trump has no doubt made his campaign on problem. I'm going to make it great, great, great. Problem. Everything's bad. Great, 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 great. There is no doubt. Now, to say he's the only one who's done this, politicians do that all the time. It's what politicians do. Trump's not a politician. I get that. You know what I'm saying. But, and there is a part of me, when you listen to a lot of Trump speeches at his rallies, I agree. A lot of times he's not saying anything. Cranston there goes, you realize he's saying nothing. He's not really saying any ideas. I'm sorry, I agree with that. So many speeches, he is the best person I have ever seen. Maybe other than Obama. Because Obama does that too. Big time. But he might be the best person I've ever seen who can talk for an hour and say nothing. That being said, when you say he has no solutions, that's not true. It's really not. His campaign, and you can argue whether he's the one doing this or not, he has solutions when it comes to some things on trade. He's passionate about that and some other things. A lot of his other stuff he's not as passionate about, so he doesn't talk about as much. But his campaign and his team, which is what all campaigns do, they have solutions. They have detailed solutions out there. He has put forth immigration proposals, detailed immigration proposals. You can find it on his website. He has put forth a VA reform. You can find it on his website. It's very detailed. He has put forth, he has this new $1 trillion stimulus, which I'm against, but he put forth that, and it's a detailed solution. When he's on message and on prompter, he does give detailed solutions. He also has the maternity leave plan, which I'm totally against now, but that's another example of a detailed solution. He's talked about some other things where he does give solutions. Now, whether it's him or it's the people surrounding him doing that or whatever, that's up for debate. But I have to agree with one thing there, and that is Trump. And this has been my biggest problem with him. All politicians, by the way, are turning into demagogues. You want to talk about the biggest demagogue, Barack Obama. I don't care what you say, who he actually is, which he's a leftist. Barack Obama is a giant demagogue. He was a giant demagogue, especially in 2008. What is more vague, and this is what demagogues do, what is more vague than hope and change? That's as vague and non-solution oriented as it gets. Saying hope and change. Saying it's basic, Trump's I'm going to make America great again. Hope and change is the same type of thing. I'm going to make America great because we have hope now. Because why? Not because of anything that he's actually going to do, but the hope was in him. He was the savior. Trump's the same way. It's all about hope and change. And because it's him, the idea, I've said this before, it's because of the idea of him. Just like with Obama. Obama was the same way. Obama was a demagogue. It was based on the idea of the first black president, the idea of someone new, the idea of someone young and charismatic. It wasn't about who he actually was as a person. No one knew. No one looked into his past. It's the same thing with Trump. So to say we've never seen anything like this before, in a lot of ways, yes. But in a lot of ways, no. Demagoguery because, and frankly, the reason why it exists is because we give the president way too much power. We give the government, the federal government, we've given them way too much power. Presidents there was a time where that was not what it was like in this country. But now we put all our hopes. That shows how flawed our system has become now. That is why I get behind this microphone and scream against giant, big government, because that's what it creates. It is the giant government. And going beyond the limits of the Constitution, that creates demagogues because they have so much power now. Presidents have way too much power now. So we have to get involved and we have to vote for this person. We have to open everything that they're going to do because they have all this power. Get rid of their power. Get rid of their power. And unfortunately, I don't see enough politicians, for obvious reasons, because they want power, who are not willing to give up their power for limited government. And that's the biggest problem here. We have created a world that praises demagogues. And Bryan Cranston, by the way, loved Obama, I'm sure. Wants to vote for Hillary Clinton, I'm sure. So don't lecture me on demagoguery when you're promoting ideas, promoting a party, promoting candidates that are pushing the growth and the size of the federal government, which is what's creating the demagogues. 47916-5400, text to 23680. Let me take a call here real quick before we take a break. Dale in Orlando, you are on Beyond Reason with me, Michael Yaffee. What's your take on all this?
Well, my take on it is, Trump wasn't my first choice, but I think the possibly the problem with Trump is from New York City, not just only from New York, but he's from New York City. And if you've ever met anybody from New York City, this isn't good or bad. They just tend to say whatever comes to their mind, sometimes without thinking, and it's not good or bad. But I think the problem with Donald Trump is, unlike myself or maybe other people that have listened to hours and hours of talk radio, have done the research, listened to your program like you, a smart man, giving us information, teaching us, getting us to think in a different way. I can convey the conservative message, delayed gratification, living within your means, not, being a compassionate conservative, helping your fellow man out at times, teaching them how. I'm a business owner, and I see the amount of money that I pay in taxes is unbelievable. I mean, it would rock your world if I told you. And what's amazing to me is nobody is talking about the foreign spending that is going on. You and I, we don't.
What do you mean foreign spending?
The foreign aid,
the money to other countries? Yeah, okay.
The amount of money, you and I and the call screener and other people that are listening to this program, the taxpayers, we don't go to work every day for our money to leave the shores. That money, just drive around Orlando and see homeless people. If we have to take care of the world, why aren't we taking care of Americans first?
Gotcha.
I mean, in all the debates, they're talking about all this stuff, fighting amongst each other. Not once did they talk about stopping foreign aid. I think Donald Trump is.
Rand Paul did.
Well, he was one of my choices, but
yeah,
unfortunately,
I love Rand Paul.
If those 16 other guys couldn't beat Donald Trump, there's no way they're going to beat Hillary. I believe that Donald Trump. I
disagree with that.
I hope. I think a lot of us are hoping that he can come in there and run this like a business, try to clamp down on the spending, get us back into a conservative mode. I just don't think he knows how to articulate it, Michael. I really don't think he knows how to articulate it. But
I hope you're right. But I see no evidence of him cutting spending or running like a conservative.
But I appreciate your show, and I like listening to it.
All right, Dale. Thanks for your call. I mean, yes, there's a better chance that he will do it over Hillary, which is why I'm voting for him. But a lot of his complaints were legitimate. I'll give him that. But it's not good enough for me. He doesn't know how to articulate it. Well, then you shouldn't be president. Maybe you should. I don't know. This is. I just wanted to point out that I agree with one thing. He can talk for an hour, Donald Trump, and not say anything. And sorry if that offends Trump supporters, but it's just something I notice. It's populism at its best. But, like I said, I have to vote for him because you just got to. It's like going to the dentist. You don't like doing it, but you got to.
Listen to the latest episodes of Beyond Reason. Download the podcast at Spreaker.com. You know what's Beyond Reason? Yaffee is now on YouTube. Go to YouTube now and just search Beyond Reason Radio.
Yes, I am on YouTube. I am on iTunes. I am on pretty much anywhere podcasts are available. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. This is Orlando's Smart Talk Radio. And if you want to join in on the smart conversation, you can at 407-916-5400 or text to 23680. So it's time to focus a little bit more on Hillary and less on Donald Trump because, and obviously starting last week, which I talked about on this show, because it broke right before the show, that's when the whole thing started getting bad for Hillary. Because Comey wrote that letter to Congress saying they're reopening the investigation on the emails and corruption. And all that has to do is say, all they have to do is play ads, Trump, and say, your presidential candidate, Hillary Clinton, is being investigated by the FBI. That's all you have to say, and that can resonate with people. And a lot of Democrats already don't like Hillary, especially for what she did to Bernie Sanders. So that's going to resonate. And of all people, I found audio here because of all people, Michael Moore was on CNN. He was a big Bernie Sanders guy, obviously. And he actually came out recently and said he's going to vote, or not, he's going to vote for Hillary, but he thinks Trump is going to win. Believe it or not, from Michael Moore. Now, his reasoning, he's saying what the Democrats don't get is there's a lot of upset people that are losing their jobs to companies overseas with Trump's big on trade and all that stuff. And, you know, a lot of people who are used to those industrial jobs, the low-skilled jobs that are losing it, especially in states like Wisconsin and Michigan and so forth, they're upset, and they're going to be what makes Trump win. And a lot of people who want to make America great again, the good old days. The only problem I have with that thinking is, yes, 30 years ago, yes. But you talk about, you know, when Trump talks about the good old days of America, make America great again, millennials, they don't relate to that because they've never seen that. So when you're saying you're going to bring back all these manufacturing jobs, a millennial has no idea what you're talking about. They have no idea. It doesn't affect them. So it's not going to get the youth vote. Blacks are not going to be happy because although things have gone a lot worse under Obama, you say the good old times for them in the 50s and 60s or maybe in the 80s, to them, it's better now in terms of race. Well, I don't know. With the whole Black Lives Matter movement and everything, I don't know. But it's harder for them to relate to that as well. But there's a lot of people, even in like the Generation X or whatever, you say, I want to bring back all these manufacturing jobs. It doesn't relate to them. So, yes, there are a lot of people that are upset. Will that be enough? Depends how close it is. Depends how many people show up. So it could be, but I don't know if it's going to have the biggest effect that Michael Moore thinks. Basically because of demographics. Just basic demographics. But Michael Moore had some interesting comments. He was asked from Don Lemon here from CNN what he thought, what went through his mind when the letter from FBI Director Comey, James Comey, came out. This is what Michael Moore said on CNN.
Ask you about this Comey letter that came out on Friday. Yeah. What was your reaction when the news broke?
Awful. Not because nobody was going to switch from Hillary to Trump, but I knew that this would depress the Hillary vote. That not all the vote, but even if it depressed 10% of it, depressed meaning people are still going to vote for Hillary, but they're not going to be as excited as they need to be this week. They're not going to work for her. They're not going to make calls. And they're not going to take 5 people to the polls with them on Election Day. They're just going to show up and vote for her. That's not enough. Everybody's got to do a lot more than that in these next 5 days if we're going to pull this off. Everybody's got to have their A game going. People need to take off work if they can on Monday and Tuesday, not go to school. You sign up online. There's all these places where you can, Democracy for America, Move On, whatever. You can sign up and make calls to swing states from your own phone. You don't need to go there. If you can go there, go there. If you live near a swing state, go there this weekend. Don't let it be said a few weeks from now and after it's gone the wrong way, geez, I wish I would have done something.
So, he doesn't sound very excited. He does not sound happy. But he was depressed, and he said, and this has happened in the polls, and it's very well a possibility, he said, it's not that they're all going to switch to Trump, but you need that excitement. You need that turnout. So they go out there to make calls and all this stuff and go vote for Hillary. And that's gone now. Any bit of that existed is gone. So the only thing that's going to carry Hillary over is if the hatred for Donald Trump is as big as the Democrats say it is. That and the other thing is Obama. The fact is a lot of people still like Obama, unfortunately. But a lot of people do. And if Obama, that's why he's been out desperately trying to get people to vote, trying to encourage early voting. He goes to all these colleges, campuses, trying to get young people to vote, trying to get blacks to vote because they know they're not going to vote as in high numbers as they did for Obama. But that's probably Hillary's biggest asset is Obama. and the fact that she's running against Donald Trump. But it was just interesting to hear Michael Moore hear about these investigations, and he's just not happy. And he knows it's not going to be turned on. And he doesn't like Hillary. And by the way, Michael Moore said in another comment, I don't have the audio, but he said most of the country's liberal. And the fact that they can't seem to win elections because Republicans seem to have won the majority of elections lately is a crime against democracy. How is it a crime against democracy that Republicans are winning? First off, most surveys show that most of the country is conservative, actually. But even if most of the country is turning liberal, nobody's telling these people not to vote. Nothing's stopping these people from voting. They can go out and vote. So it's not a crime against democracy. And of course, the other thing that we always talk about is we're not a democracy. We're not this whole thing about we're a democracy. You know, that's why the Florida Amendment thing is so screwed up now. Because instead of voting for representatives who legislate based on the Florida Constitution, we put all these stupid amendments that are basically referendums on the government has to do this or this has to pass. We need legalized medical marijuana and solar and all this stuff. No, that's supposed to be in the Constitution. But we think about it as a referendum on, because we're a democracy, that people need to decide, you know, on this specific thing, and this is specifically how it has to work. No. That's why I'm voting against all the amendments. That's not how a constitutional republic works. You vote for the representatives, and if you need amendments, the amendments are supposed to be to change the constitutional framework of something or to prevent the government from doing something, frankly. But we've turned it into direct democracy where we just vote on it. We'll just get rid of the representatives. Who cares? We'll just do everything by referendum. Mob rule. It's just, that's not how it works. And there's a reason why that's not how it works. Because it's never worked in the history of mankind. But we seem to be going down that road. But anyways, I digress. Thought I'd show you some corruption. By the way, in terms of Hillary Clinton corruption, it's not just the email thing. There's a lot of people who are saying, as the Wall Street Journal pointed out this week, the FBI has been reviewing possible influence peddling via the Clinton Foundation. They're also investigating the Clinton Foundation, which I've documented on this show how bad that is. Then you have the Justice Department and corruption in the Justice Department and them basically trying to tell the FBI, you're not going to do this. You're not going to go after this. He's like, yes, I am. You think that the Justice Department's not supposed to be political? But now they're political. It's just where we are as a country. But there's so much in terms of Hillary wins. It's not over. There's going to be possible indictments. There's going to be congressional investigations. There's going to be news reports because the media is not even that excited about Hillary anymore. And possible impeachment proceedings. So at least there won't be a shortage of beyond reason things to talk about. So I found an article I'm going to talk about in the next segment and see what you guys think. Somebody says this is the least important election of our lifetimes. Not the most, the least. I'm sure a lot of you would disagree with that. This is Orlando's Smart Talk Radio, Beyond Reason Radio on News Radio 102.5 WFLA and BeyondReasonRadio.com.
Download the iHeartRadio app and catch the Beyond Reason Radio podcast. Subscribe to the Beyond Reason podcast today on your Stitcher app and hear the voice of reason anytime.
So is this the most important election of our lifetimes? We always hear that, every election. Or is this maybe the least important election of our lifetimes? Welcome back to Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee, the voice of reason in a world that is beyond reason. And the Beyond Reason election is almost here. It's almost over. Rob, it's almost over.
Oh, thank goodness. I've loved the election process so far. It's a little long, as everybody knows, but it's so exciting, and it's just going to come down to, Tuesday night it's going to be over the top.
Yeah. You said your family's been kind of in a division.
There is a little bit of division.
This.
We have some millennials, some kids in their 22-year-olds, and
who need to listen to this show.
They do. I hope they are listening. And they were sort of for Bernie Sanders now, and now they're in a dilemma because they don't like Hillary, they don't like Trump.
That's good.
And they have to realize that a third party candidate is not exactly where the country should go. And they're in a kind of a dilemma there. They don't really know.
You
what
think
to
they're
do.
just going to stay home?
No, I think they're going to decide to vote somehow, some way. They're not going to throw away their vote, but it's going to be interesting. But on the other hand, my wife is completely for Hillary, as is my daughter. So I have my wife and my daughter for Hillary.
Now you said your daughter is 18.
She's 18, first time voter, and she's along the lines where she's empowered to be a woman and she wants a woman president. So you can't fight her on that. It's history for her, and she wants to make history. And I can't argue with a 18-year-old teenage daughter. It doesn't. You could never win with that. But it is. You can't. You got to keep. I'm kind of the referee
Just
there.
tell her to vote on November 28th.
November 35th. No, they really.
November 35th.
For me, it's exciting to see a kid in their 20s that don't care about anything to really get passionate about the process. They don't understand all the history. They don't understand that this isn't the first time a third party candidate's been around, and
they just need to get passionate about the right people. But that aside, thanks, Rob. So speaking of the most important election of our lifetimes, we've heard this, and by the way, I found this article from theFederalist.com and by David Harsanyi. And he actually has a little history here, which I did not know. He says a lot of this started, the most important elections in our history. He said it started in 1864 in the race between Abraham Lincoln and George McClellan. And apparently the New York Times published an editorial that contained this sentence. The Republic is approaching what is to be one of the most important elections in its history. That was in 1864. And so pretty much we've heard this every election now. He said that even goes for Gerald Ford, who in a debate against Jimmy Carter claimed that 1976 was one of the most vital in the history of America. Walter Mondale said it in 84. We hear this all the time. So we're hearing it now, and I hear this from people who support Trump. I hear this from my friends. I hear this from Trump and Hillary. This is the most important election of our lifetimes. So much is at stake. And I talked about why I hate that, because it means the president has too much power. But that aside, this guy on the Federalist is actually arguing that this is the least important election of our lifetimes. He says, yes, government's increasing involvement in the economic and moral lives of citizens have made political stakes high. It's true that 2016 features the two suckiest candidates probably ever. It's also true that our collective vision of the American project has frayed, perhaps beyond repair. But more people are invested in the daily grind of elections and all this stuff. He said that's not to say our constitutional republic isn't slowly dying. It probably is. But this condition isn't contingent on an election's outcome, but on a widespread problems with our institutions, politics, and voters. Whatever you believe the future of governance should look like, one election is not going to make or break it. But this is where he makes the point that it's the least important election of our lifetime. He thinks the reason is going to be gridlock. And by the way, he says the headline, he says, this is the least important election of our lifetimes. And then he says, God willing. I'm with him. I love gridlock because that means the government's taking away less of our liberty. But he says, when it comes to policy, it's far more likely that very little will change over the next 4 years. Perhaps even less than did with the election of Barack Obama. It's very true. I have to remember, Obama was a true believer, and he had a full Democrat Congress. So a lot changed in the beginning. He says, if Providence or dumb luck takes mercy on the Constitution, Washington's gridlock will remain the status quo, meaning we could have a split Congress, which we kind of do now, even though Republicans, they dominate the House and they have the Senate. It's very close in the Senate. It's hard to get overrides of vetoes. And if Clinton wins, it'll be gridlock. And if Trump wins, there's a chance Democrats will take the Senate. So maybe nothing will get done, but maybe that's a good thing. But that's why he says our polarization has actually made this gridlock in Washington. And because of that gridlock, that means nothing's going to change. Which would mean, what he says, that this is the least important election of our lifetimes because of that gridlock. I find that very interesting. That actually kind of makes a lot of sense. He says this kind of frustrating environment is likely to cause more recrimination and, unfortunately, abuses of power that are meant to circumvent the congestion. Still, overall, it's better than partisan unilateralism. The situation will not change until we find competent people to put in the White House or politicians with ideas that have some crossover appeal. I don't think it's going to happen yet. I think that's where we are as a country. I've talked about the we-us cycle. For the next 10 years, we're in a we-us cycle. And what always happens in a we-us cycle is we polarize because we get into the idea that if you are not with our group, there's something wrong with you. We're okay, you're not okay. So that's why Trump supporters, if you're not in the Trump bandwagon full-throated, they hate you. It's the same on the other side. If you're not with all the liberal policies, they don't like it. If you're with Trump, they hate you. That's what happens in this cycle. In 10 years, it will start to change and go back the other way. But I don't think it's going to change. And we're going to hear the next election, and possibly the election after that, that this is the most important election of our lifetimes. Sometimes I wonder. I'm kind of sick of hearing that. And part of me thinks it's not that important because they're both going to grow government. I really think Trump or Hillary will grow government, honestly. Rob, you look like you have something to say.
Yeah, well, after you pointed out, since every election back to the 76 one, or even before that, it is
1864.
So everybody says it's the most important election.
Yes.
Because I thought this
Always
was a very important election, too, and that we were deciding. But I could see how this one could be skipped over after you read that, and maybe the next one, the next couple cycles, could really change our society. That's when they say the most important. How are you going to change?
Because right now we're so half and half.
Yeah.
So eventually we're going to get to a point where one of those sides is going to start to get the influence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when things will start to change, really. But right now we're so divided.
It is.
That nothing can really get done because of that polarization. Yep. So you have to have voices and true leaders who can influence enough people on both sides to really make a change.
And break through that.
That's what Ronald Reagan did, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
We had a caller earlier who apparently not a fan. I don't know. Trump's more conservative than Reagan. But that's what Reagan did.
Calling Ronald Reagan out from his grave.
But the fact is he had massive crossover appeal. A lot of people thought Obama was going to have that, but Obama ruined his chances to have it. He did things in the beginning that were just, without Republican help, totally leftist. And the fact is we're in the cycle we're in, like I said, the we-us cycle. That's just the reality. It's hard to get consensus. It's just the way it is. It'll happen for the next 10 years. Let me take a quick call here. Glenn apparently has problems, something to do with voting. Glenn, you are on Beyond Reason Radio. What's up, my friend?
Hey, Mike, listen, I want to relay an instance that happened to me today with my father at one of the voting precincts. And let me first start by saying I am not an aluminum foil hat guy. I don't really believe in the conspiracies. But something happened tonight that kind of got me thinking. Okay. I took my dad, who lives in a nursing home, to vote because he wanted to go. So we put him in a wheelchair. We took him down.
Okay.
And they said, oh, well, your father's already voted. And I looked at my dad and I said, well, Dad, have you voted? And he goes, no, I haven't. And, sometimes he doesn't remember. And so we actually inside the voting area. We got hold of the supervisor of elections. They said they would go ahead and look into it and call us back. So I took him back to the facility, and they did. They called me back, and they said, well, Mr. Miller, we want to tell you that your father has already voted. We have a ballot here with his signature on it. And I said, well, how did that happen? And this is what she said. She said, well, they have a group of people that go out and deliver ballots to nursing homes and help people in nursing homes vote.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of such a thing. And then my question is, okay, well, first of all, where's the privacy to that? And where is the oversight that says, they're not going up to some poor person who has very little faculties and just saying, here, check this, or sign this, and we'll fill this ballot out for you.
That's an interesting take because, they do that and try to have them put in an absentee ballot kind of thing, make it easier for them to vote. But it does raise a lot of issues.
Why is it that they don't go to apartment complexes to do that or to my own house?
Oh, don't give them any ideas.
Well, what gives the supervisor of election the right to go ahead and take away from the processes of having to go to a voting place or doing an absentee ballot in the privacy of by yourself? I find that is a ripe with fraud issue, and I hate to think that there is somebody that's actually going nefariously into nursing homes. But can you imagine the tens of thousands of votes that
especially in Florida,
gleaned by doing that, especially in Florida,
Wow. Yeah, that's kind of it's kind of a whole issue. I mean, I'll have to look more into that and see if that's happening more because
I'm going to talk to the supervisor of elections office. Probably will be after the election and try to get a little more information on how this program is supposed to work and what the oversight looks like. Once again, it may not be an issue that is a nefarious issue, but in the age of fraud, it seems like that's a very, very ripe problem for fraud, and we want to stay away from that kind of stuff.
Yeah, unfortunately, every time you want to stay away from fraud, the Democrats are like racist or you hate old people, which is annoying. But
thanks, Mike.
Yeah, Glenn, thanks for your call. I appreciate it. Wow.
Did they at least let remind his granddad who he voted for? I mean, granddad said he couldn't remember who he voted for. Was it the person who he wanted to vote for? Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's voting for, I didn't vote for Hillary. Yeah, you did.
But that does create a lot of problems. They're going to nursing homes. Hey, here you go.
Yeah.
Up, sign her. They're like, they have Alzheimer's. They don't even know.
Towards the Hillary. It's like, come on. What's going on there?
That's very interesting. All right. I'm going to end the show with stories so beyond reason they will leave you flabbergasted. I had a good one last week, and this one might be just as crazy. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I'm your host, Michael Yaffee. We'll be right back.
If you miss any of the show, you can download the Beyond Reason podcast on iTunes. Now, back to Beyond Reason Radio. If you like Beyond Reason Radio, well, make sure to show it by liking the Facebook page at facebook.com/Beyond Reason Radio.
Welcome back to Orlando's Smart Talk Radio, where we talk faith, culture, and politics every Friday night, 7 to 9 p.m. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I am your host, Michael Yaffee. Most of you know me as I produce Good Morning Orlando right here on News Radio 102.5 every morning, 6 to 9 a.m. I also co-host the Florida Roundtable, which plays on this station Sunday nights and over 100 stations in Florida. So, some people love this part of the show. And why wouldn't you love this part of the show? It is stories so beyond reason, they will leave you flabbergasted. So last week, I had a story, and Paul was producing last week, and I always like to do these kind of stories when he's here because his reaction is so funny. But last week I had a story, Rob. See how you react to this. Who am I being compared to? Well, Paul.
Oh, Paul. Good. Okay.
He reacted.
It's a high bar. I don't know if I can do it. He's great.
My flabbergasted story last week was there's a new phenomenon out there. We have transgenderism, all this new sexuality, lesbian, sure. LGBTQ, RLMNOP. But the new one was macrosexual.
What? What?
Okay, it's not quite how he reacted.
That wasn't a pause.
What do you think a macrosexual is?
Something small. Oh,
You're close.
That's close. Something small.
Macrosexuals are those who are attracted to giants.
Oh.
So it's actually kind of more of a fetish, I guess. But they are attracted to, they have fantasies of being attacked by very large women or men. And not like Shaq. I'm talking real giants. Like legit, like monster giants.
There's some reality shows out there, like My Giant Life, where they have some really tall ladies out there.
This is even more than... So I talked about that last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I found another one. We'll see how you react to this.
I don't know if I could react better than what.
You thought macrosexual was weird.
Mm-hmm.
Now they have eco-sexuals. Yes, gotta add this way. There are all kinds of new ways to define your sexuality.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I know. Paul just goes nuts. He just can't take it. He wanted to, last week he had to walk out of the room. He just can't take all this new stuff. He's a very strong Christian. That's why. I know.
He's flabbergasted. There's nothing more else to say.
Exactly. That's how I am. I just laugh at the ridiculousness.
Am I trying to guess what ecosexual is? I mean,
sure, try. Go ahead.
I am a tree hugger. I mean, I do love the trees. Like I admit that. So I'm eco-friendly.
Well, to some maybe, but let's just say it goes a little bit farther than that.
Farther than hugging the trees?
Yes.
Ooh, I draw the line of tree hugging. That's it.
Yes. An attempt to catalog all this. I got this from Breitbart. An attempt to catalog all the sexualities listed on Tumblr early this year identified 80 different varieties, including nuo, which is feeling attraction towards people who are genderless. I don't know, but ecosexual was not among them, but maybe it should, because 100,000 people worldwide are now said to be identifying as ecosexual. According to Amanda Morgan, who works for UNLV in their health sciences department, he says there are people out there, some ecosexuals, who are people who roll around in the dirt.
I was going to say that.
Having sexual relations covered in potting soil.
Just dirt.
With the dirt. There are people who, she used the bad word, but I'll say sexual relations with trees, or have sexual relations with themselves under a waterfall.
Nah. I mean, that's not serious.
Well, this is a real thing. We have to tolerate and understand these people. Rob.
Yep.
They need rights.
The ecosexuals, they don't need a bathroom. They just go outside. So we know that. That's fine. They don't need a bathroom.
It's a good...
So no reason, North Carolina, don't worry. No reason to pass a law for that.
So how long until the ecosexuals want the right to marry legally their tree?
Right.
Or dirt.
That's the old argument with the homosexual marriage, whether, what's next? What do they want to marry next? So that is very nice. Very good.
What is one website proclaims the earth is our lover. We are madly, passionately, and fiercely in love. And we are grateful for this relationship each and every day. Woo.
We have a show on 540, Better Lawns and Gardens, and they always talk about Tom McCubbin, the host, always talks about getting out there and getting your hands dirty in the dirt. They love the dirt.
I don't
they
think
talk about the dirt is their friend.
I don't think that's what he means, though. I don't think he's
they're so beyond that. No, that's beyond reason.
I don't want to say that our lawns and garden guy is an ecosexual. I think he
like
just
dirt.
Likes to plant and grow trees. Nope. These people get pleasure out of doing what is a ceremony between a tree and what does a wedding ceremony between a tree and a man look like? I mean, what is that?
Who will preside over that?
Where does
the squirrels? We're married.
Where does the ring go? I mean, where does it? I mean, how does this? And how do you know if the tree has consented to this relationship. That's the other thing.
Oh, quickly, before we run out of time, great show, by the way, Mike. Really hit all the factors in this big show before the election. But we mentioned the Bryan Cranston LBJ reprisal. It's called All the Way, and it's on HBO.
Oh, okay.
That's why it's not at the movie theater. It's on HBO. It's also a Broadway play. You want to Tony
Hopefully
for
it'll
it.
be on. Yeah. Hopefully it'll be like on
All the
Netflix
Way.
or something.
LBJ portrayal.
Interesting. I'll have to look that up. So it's been an interesting show as well. Election. We're almost there. We're almost there. Somebody texted, your eco story, the insane are running the insane asylum. Couldn't have said it better myself. This is Beyond Reason Radio. I will be back next time. Everyone have a good weekend. Make sure to go out and vote for Trump. Go out and vote for your candidate, Trump. And we'll be here after the election. Catch you guys next time.
I look inside.